Do you believe in alternate universes?
You are listening to Delayed Replay.
The improvised movie review podcast. Wink.
Everything is fine here. We're all fine. Just sit tight and listen to them talk about the movies they definitely saw.
Don't delay. We have to listen right away.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we review some of the most recent films. I'm your host, as always, Steven Schinder, and joining me on this Candyman episode, you've probably heard his voice before if you're a longtime listener. It's Andres Serrano.
Woo, 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 woo! I'm back for a third time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back.
You've beaten Jeffrey's record because you and Tim were tied of each being on 2 episodes so far, but now you're the first one to be on 3, I think.
Woo, 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 woo. Take that, Jeffrey.
So yeah, you're back because the fans demanded it. Probably, I don't know. They haven't really said anything about it. I just assume.
No, the fans demanded it, Steven. I know the fans have been demanding it.
Yeah, and since we're talking about a horror movie again, we're going back to the roots of this podcast because
back to episode 1.
Yeah, with A Quiet Place Part 2 and New Mutants was the second one, but. Yeah, and glad to finally have a break from all that normie content so we can dive into horror, right?
Back into the juicy films.
Like I said, we're talking about the new Candyman movie, which came out last June, but wanting to talk about this one for a while, and we're finally doing it. And I've been mistakenly referring to it as a remake every now and then, even after seeing it, because I was so used to thinking of it as such in the lead up to it, when really it's more of a revival or revamp, since it continues a thread from the first movie just many years later.
We gotta get right into it real quick with that small piece, because I also thought it was gonna be a reboot of the Candyman franchise. And watching the film, I learned that no, it's in the same universe, and that was exciting to me.
Yeah, and to be fair, it was kind of confusing because they didn't even change the title. They did that thing that Halloween and The Thing did, which it's kind of weird that John Carpenter was involved in both those franchises. But yeah, add something to the title, even Candyman Returns, even if that sounds generic, just add something to differentiate it,
I know, because it was just called straight Candyman, I thought it was just going to be a brand new film, just its own standalone. But no.
Right. So before we dive into the newer one, I guess we'll go over our previous experiences with the older films. So which of the older films have you seen, and when did you see them?
I only saw the original Candyman, and I think the last time I saw it was probably 8th grade. But it was so good that I recommended it to people. And Candyman is one of those horror films that hardly anyone has seen. So, it's pretty cool.
For me, I think I watched the first 3 movies for the first time in the early 2010s. If I remember correctly, I was watching some documentary called The Rise and Fall of the Slasher movie or whatever it's called. And there was this little segment where someone mentioned that there was an attempt to make a Leprechaun versus Candyman movie. So it's
what?
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, I think that's how I first found out about Candyman.
Well, that sounds whack.
Yeah, have you seen any of those Leprechaun movies?
I've seen them in my recommended sometimes when they used to be on Netflix. I don't know if they still are. But I've seen them in my recommended. I never once clicked on them because they looked weird.
Yeah, they're kind of meh. Warwick Davis, who's been in a bunch of films, he plays the Leprechaun in the first several. But then there's this weird, dark, gritty reboot where they recast, and it had none of the humor of the others. And Then I think they did another one in the same original timeline called Leprechaun Returns, but Warwick Davis didn't come back for that one. I haven't seen that one yet, but weird
I
series.
just looked it up for us. It has 8 movies.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That is insane.
Yeah, I mean, lots of horror movie series get out of hand with the amount of installments they have, you know?
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, I watched the first 3 movies of Candyman, that is, in early 2010s, like in high school, I think. And I remember not paying as much attention to them, like to the finer details. Like, you know, it was back in the day when I would just put some movies on while doing other things.
Mhm.
And I rewatched them again this year because, you know, I want to like refamiliarize myself with them in anticipation for the newer one. And so I watched the first one and I'm like, this is actually pretty good and well thought out. Like, it's like, this is going to sound super pretentious, but it felt to me like a thinking person's horror movie. Like, you know, it touches upon themes like racism, and you see like what's going on in Chicago, and you get like the Candyman backstory, how he was like the son of a slave and then had an affair with a woman he was painting a portrait of. And of course, her father, like this landowner guy who's like he and a bunch of other people in the era were super racist. So they, you know, they attacked, let's see, in the later movies, they give him the name Daniel Robitaille. And so, yeah, they attack him and they saw his hand off, and it's pretty brutal. Like, there's a flashback of this in the second movie. And so they cover him in honey and bees come and they chant Candyman 5 times, which is why there's like this myth in the first movie onward that if you say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, the Candyman will appear and like kill the non-believers with that hook hand, you know? I really enjoyed the cinematography and all the themes of that one. I don't know like how much of it you remember like all these years later, but yeah.
Oh, cinematography? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, like there were like these quick shots like where you'd see like a flicker of an image, and I also just really like things where like they include really good looking paintings, and so this was like one of those types of movies. The protagonist, her name was Helen Lyle, and she was doing like a college paper on the Candyman, and that goes horribly. So I guess the lesson is don't write college papers.
I guess don't be an overachiever.
She investigates the Candyman myth in that one, and she meets Anne Marie, who has this baby named Anthony. And, you know, Candyman goes after the baby, and in order to save the baby, well, obviously there are going to be spoilers for the first 3 movies. I'll include timestamps in the show notes.
But they're all so old.
You listeners have no excuse.
No.
But, so yeah, she saves the baby by agreeing to switch places with it and become a vengeful spirit herself. So, like, that movie ends with her husband saying Helen 5 times in the mirror. She appears and you've seen how she's transformed, and like she's a vengeful spirit. And like she's also like the reincarnation of Candyman's original lover, apparently. So yeah, there's that movie, and the second one, which came out in 95, so like 3 years after the first one, that one takes place in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Hatchet movies, but Tony Todd, who plays Candyman, was in those too. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, and those take place like around Mardi Gras, so that's kind of funny.
This man has just a theme for what he does.
Yeah, I mean, the Hatchet movies bring back a lot of like slasher movie celebrities. Like Derek Mears is even in the third one. And this woman named Annie Tarrant is like investigating the whole Candyman thing, and she finds out that like she's a descendant of him.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah, it's that whole "no, I'm your father" thing, like in Star Wars, right? But yeah,
Of course.
on the recent watch for that second movie, I kept waiting for the movie to get bad, but it didn't really get bad for me. I was like, huh, this is actually pretty good for a sequel. And, it delves into like Candyman's backstory and memories and all that. And he wants her to join him, but of course she refuses. And then, like, you see at the end of the movie, she now has a daughter. And the third movie, Candyman Day of the Dead, I guess takes place like 25 years later, apparently. So possibly 2020 even, which is weird because it came out in 1999. And it follows her daughter, Caroline. A few years beforehand, Caroline's mother died at the hands of Candyman, but people assumed it was like a suicide. Right off the bat, I felt like it was a disservice to Annie, the character, and it was just all downhill from there. Like there were a couple of detective characters who are just so badly acted. Like they have terrible deliveries and overt racist dialogue and sexist dialogue, and there's also like incestuous overtones in like how Candyman interacts with his descendant.
Ew.
Yeah, and so it's just so terrible, like a really bad movie. And so like I was happy when it was over. Like it ends with Caroline pinning the Candyman murders on one of the detectives who gets killed, like the really badly acted ones. And like in theory, I like that idea of pinning it on someone in order to destroy the Candyman myth, to try to get people to stop remembering Candyman. But I feel like the movie didn't really earn it just because of how bad it was and how generic of a slasher type of movie it ended up feeling like comparing to the previous two. So yeah, that one took place in LA around Day of the Dead because, candy skulls, I guess.
I see. Were there a lot of bees in that movie?
Yeah, like just like in all the others, there were bees, but good. Yeah, like it took place in Boyle Heights, I think. I guess I could kind of see how the neighborhood looks in that movie being in 2020. It's just that it's hard to believe that people in 2020 don't have phones out. But on the other hand, if they did have their cell phones out, they'd probably look like non-2020 phones,
Probably. They'd be these big chunky things.
Right. And weird fact that I learned recently, like the third movie, there's this detective who's a really good detective in that movie. He's played by Ernie Hudson Jr., who's the son of Ernie Hudson, who was in Ghostbusters, which I talked about on the previous episode.
Oh, wow. Weird connection.
So yeah, that's those movies. And it's kind of funny to think that this new one probably takes place like shortly after that third one, if it's like 2020, And I guess we'll go ahead and dive into this newer one now.
Let's do it.
It follows Anthony, who was the baby in the first movie. He's like a visual artist, does like painting and photography. And just like the first one, it's set in Chicago again, and the Cabrini Green neighborhood has been gentrified to the point where people are referring to it as like Shiny Green, like as a little nickname. He feels drawn to it and he's like exploring. And one of the residents there, his name is William Burke. He tells him the like Candyman story, which we learned that his mother like kept from him. Like she didn't want him to know about like the events of the first movie, and like he kind of becomes fixated on it, We also get this bathroom scene where like some girls are like saying Candyman's name 5 times in the mirror, and at
so
first,
funny to me.
Like, what was so funny about it to you? Like, just real quick.
Just the fact that they're like I don't know who's this is a Jordan Peele film, right?
He's a producer on it, and he co-wrote the screenplay.
Oh, okay. Just the fact that they're like, okay, let's make the preppiest high school girls go in this bathroom and recreate the Candyman chant. And it was just so weird because they're like, oh my god, it totally like didn't work. It was like, and 10 seconds later, then she getting murdered in the bathroom. I'm like, oh my god! But in my mind, it's absolutely hilarious because they went from it's not working to now we're all dead in this bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was intended to be a funny scene, but I could see like how it could come across that way.
It
Just
touched the humorous bone within me.
because like the whole fake out thing is overplayed sometimes, but I feel
Oh
like
my
they
god, yeah.
didn't do that too much in this movie.
I don't think they did either.
Yeah, they definitely did it too much in the third movie, which, like I said, is really bad.
Uh-huh.
Like that's to give like the audience an idea of like the Candyman mythos, and of course Anthony learns like the whole backstory from William, and he becomes like fixated with it, making all these paintings and whatnot. What'd you think of that whole montage where like Anthony's doing like all these works of art?
I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was really creative how he works on the architecture of the inner mind. I thought it was really funny how since the movie was supposed to be a Halloween-esque, you could tell that they were hiding like pumpkins here and there throughout his paintings so that like it gives off those Halloween vibes because people will probably be watching it around Halloween. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think I kind of liked the montage because it really showed his process of going into the art and like a piece of him being displayed in the art and the architecture of the inner mind and all that awesome stuff. So I was a fan of the montage.
Yeah, and his girlfriend Brianna is like this art gallery director.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's given a shot to like display all these works of art at the gallery, and people are impressed with it. And he even makes this like shadow puppet short film with like paper, which is pretty much like a modern reinterpretation of the whole Candyman myth, which I thought was very creative. And like, of course, the people at the gallery applaud him.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there are like people at the gallery like doubting the Candyman myth, and Anthony
Of course,
is like daring them to like try it out, which a pretty bad idea in retrospect, given what happens to like anyone who tries it.
Yeah, this man single-handedly revitalizes the Candyman myth.
Yeah, like one of these people who attended the gallery, like you see him go home later and he's like singing along like that old song that goes like Candyman, Candyman.
I was whistling this song all the way to my car after the movie.
Yeah, like he's singing aloud to himself while like flossing in the mirror, and like it doesn't take that long for Candyman to appear because of like how many times it's like said in that song. And then that's when we get this like juxtaposition between like the murder and like the upbeat music, which I kind of like seeing in other movies as well.
Oh yeah, me too. I thought it was really funny how this man's being slashed to upbeat music.
This like amateur artist in like the art scene who tries to take a stab at his own like Candyman sculpture. Like he makes it out of candy and makes the hook out of like a candy cane, which is kind of cringeworthy, and like people point out that he's missing the whole point of like the Candyman myth and like the problems like underlying it. But of course he's like he doesn't get it, and eventually he gets like killed by the Candyman as well for like making a bad representation of him. And he even uses like he even gets the candy cane, sharpens it, and uses it on the guy.
Which I thought was beautiful, to kill the other guy with the candy cane hook. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Real quick, have you ever seen this show called Malcolm in the Middle?
Of course!
Do you remember the episode where, what's his name, Commandant Spangler is like making the cadets sing Candyman?
Yes. And he has a candy cane hook, right?
Yeah, he has a hook hand. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. I don't think that was an intentional homage, but like it's kind of weird to think about.
Dun dun dun.
Oh man, Malcolm in the Middle is such a good show.
Dude, I could have watched Malcolm in the Middle for so many hours.
I watched it pretty much every day in like middle school. I was just like so addicted to it.
I think it's pretty funny seeing Bryan Cranston in that role now that he's known for a whole different genre of roles. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love it when comedy actors show that they can do like dramatic roles. Like, of course, there's also the guy who plays Saul Goodman on Breaking Bad, and he's like, he does like comedic stuff, but he also like does some emotional stuff on Better Call Saul. So
There's also Steve Carell now, who is completely broken out of his comedic roles and now only does dramas.
Oh, does he? I wasn't aware.
Yeah, he does. I think he's released 4 or 5 dramas in a row now.
Oh wow, I'll have to check those out.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, I know he did like a semi-dramatic role in this indie film several years back called The Way, Way Back, where he was like an unlikable stepfather or like boyfriend to the kid's mom. Like he was like being mean and whatnot. So that was like something different for him there. Pretty good film overall though.
I like Steve Carell. A whole lot.
How much do you love him?
I love him so much I can even marry the man.
Were you trying to do like a Jerry Seinfeld impression, or is that someone else?
It was a pseudo Jerry Seinfeld, pseudo just the first voice that came into my head. What's with all that airline food? I don't know. It's not that great.
What's the deal with murder? Speaking of Jerry Seinfeld, like there were times where I could not help but think of Bee Movie whenever the bees appeared in this new Candyman movie and the other ones for that matter.
Why are you one of these people? You bee-loving person.
What, do you not love Bee Movie?
I did, but the Bee Movie hype that goes on with the meme is too much for me. Too much.
If you heard Nathan on the Black Widow episode, he is a Bee Movie apologist, like his own words.
Oh, Nathan loves the Bee Movie. Nathan loves memes more than anything. Nathan gets hooked on a meme and he uses it, and I'm like kind of jealous because I wish I could be that into something.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bee Movie is pretty funny. It's basically Ants all over again, which is kind of weird because it's also from DreamWorks, but it's entertaining enough, I think.
I think so too.
Speaking of bees, we get like this whole swarm of them, like they fly through Chicago and people are like, wait, what the hell is going on? And so this gets people worried that like Candyman is real. And of course, Anthony is like really worried because like he's seeing Candyman reflected in the mirror, and it's the same actor who played him in the other movies, Tony Todd. So it's like really cool, but also kind of weird since like if this is like shortly after the third movie, it's like he looks more aged, but like, you know, just roll with it.
Do you think it's shortly after, or do you think they retconned the time period?
Well, it's kind of weird because like they developed this mainly as a sequel to the first movie, but there are like these little tiny shout outs here and there. You kind of have to look for them, where like there's like some article in the background that mentions like a recent Day in the Dead thing that happened in Los Angeles, and it's like, oh, I wonder if that's the thing that happened in the third movie. But obviously like Candyman's not going after like the protagonist of the third movie. Like this time he's going after Anthony and kind of wants him to take up like the Candyman mantle.
It almost acting like it's a job that you can just apply for, you know? It's like, hello, you've revitalized my curse. Take the job.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much goes to Anthony because he's like, you understand me. And it's like they're kindred spirits because they're both painters. And so I guess he like really sees him as someone who could take after him, unlike his previous attempts in the other sequels. So I thought that was a really interesting dichotomy, how you have these two guys who are like really good at painting. And I feel like the whole passing down the Candyman curse angle. It's maybe like a subtle message of how like the atrocities of racism that happened in the past still linger today and still affect people to this day. So I thought that was handled tastefully in this whole allegory type of thing.
Dang, Steven, you just went in deep on this one. I thought it was just like Master Apprentice style where he hands down his own personal paintbrush. But you definitely looked at it in a much deeper way, and that's actually pretty cool. I like that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I really like horror movies like this where, like, you know, there are those guilty pleasure ones where it's like, oh yes, let's see the idiots get killed or whatever, like get what's coming to them. But I also really appreciate these ones that really make you think and that actually have like something that you can take away from it and like relate it to like what's goes on in life, deals with personal experiences and stuff like that.
Steven, what's your number one guilty pleasure movie?
I mean, how would you define guilty pleasure? I feel like there are different definitions.
A movie that you feel guilty watching, but gives you much pleasure. A movie that is not accepted by many, but you love and you adore.
Okay, not accepted by many. I think that can narrow it down.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see. I feel like it's got to be something I've watched more than once. So that would roll a few out. Geez, this is a tough question. Do you have one?
Yeah, it's called The Emoji Movie.
I should have guessed.
Oh yeah. The Emoji Movie, man. Guilty pleasure. It's my guilty pleasure.
What do you love about the Emoji Movie? Just so I can stall and come up with an answer to your question.
What do I love about the Emoji Movie? First of all, the Emoji Movie is just a fun experience all around. When you get past the fact that Sir Patrick Stewart is just the poop emoji who's in the movie for just like 5 seconds at most, and you accept the fact that this is just a kid's movie, it's actually really fun. It's a cute little adventure. And they explore the inner personalities of emojis, and it's kind of funny. It's really cute. Have you seen the Emoji Movie?
Yeah, I saw it once, and I remember like texting you and saying this feels like a ripoff of Wreck-It Ralph, Inside Out, and
that's exactly what it is.
Was the other one? I feel like there was a third one, but it's not coming to me right now. I don't know.
But long story short, that's my guilty pleasure of a movie.
But let's see, my guilty pleasure movie...
Karate Kid.
Well, like the Jaden Smith one.
Yes, the Jaden Smith one.
I mean, I enjoyed it, even though it was mistitled, but I'm not sure that would be my favorite guilty pleasure movie. I remember for a while, I thought Spider-Man 3 was like the best Spider-Man movie, but over the years, I'm like, nah, that's the worst one. So.
That could be a guilty pleasure. Something you enjoy watching, but a majority of society doesn't like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't rank it highly anymore, but I guess that's kind of a guilty pleasure. Like, you kind of watch it for the memes now. Like, the memes are what make it like watchable, I guess.
The whole thing is a meme. The whole thing is a meme.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know, The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones could possibly fit, because like I rank those lowly, but I still enjoy watching them, especially now that they have memes as well. So those are possibilities. I don't know.
Oh, Steven. I can't believe I even asked. I thought you would have one.
Yeah, I mean, if I think of like another one, I'll put in the show notes, I guess.
As you should, because the listeners clearly care about these questions.
Yeah, I could even like if I come up with a concrete answer, I'll just like splice it in here, and it'll sound like really out of place and forced, and like it won't feel like the same recording session at all. But that's this podcast. That's
podcast.
Yeah,
that's podcast. I know that one.
I also really like Space Jam and Good Burger, but I feel like enough people like those to like, I don't know, there are lots of movies.
Oh, actually, you know what, Tom Dress?
What?
A guilty pleasure movie that just came to mind right now is Chicken Little.
Dang, Steven.
I don't know if it's my number one guilty pleasure movie, but it's at least a strong contender. You know, like chicken tenders. Get it?
At
so
first-
funny to me.
Oh, actually, you know what?
What?
As a kid, I really loved watching the live-action Cat in the Hat.
I love so much.
I guess I'll stick with that answer right now.
But anyway, going back to Candyman.
Yeah, I'll let you off the hook. Let's go back to Candyman.
Oh, was that intentional?
But I'm. No, it wasn't. But I'm glad you caught it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to say, oh, I was hooked by the trailer of this movie, but you know.
I was too. It was such a good trailer. The movie was so good.
Yeah, like once we saw that trailer way back, we just had to see this movie. Like it's so well shot and like the music is great, how they incorporate the classic theme, like dun 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 dun, and it's just so haunting, you know?
Oh, I love the trailer. It got me so hyped for the movie. For when we eventually saw it, it was so good.
Yeah. So Anthony is having this inner struggle. It keeps flickering between like his normal self and a version of himself that looks like the Candyman with like the hook hand, and also like his face looks disfigured. And like the makeup department, I think did a really good job with that. It looked very convincing.
But for those of you listening who haven't seen it, it specifically happens whenever he looks in the mirror from then on out. Like, anytime he sees his own reflection, he sees this corrupted Candyman version of himself, which is pretty dope. There's actually cool little hidden stuff that Steven probably caught, where, like, you see him walking down the street, and a reflection in the distance, you see the Candyman figure walking, rather than his own reflection, which is really dope.
Yeah, like you kind of have to like look really closely, and like I was trying to like pay close attention, even though I had like candy that I bought from the theater and was like eating on them while watching the movie. But yeah, there were instances like that where like walks by a window of a shop and it happens very quickly, but you see like the Candyman reflection passing by as he's passing by. He has this really dramatic moment where like he goes to his mom about this and like his girlfriend as well, and he's like breaking down about it, and he's like, something's happening to me, and it, you know, it's better acted than like how I'm describing it. But...
Of course. That man's paid hundreds of thousands to say that line.
Yeah, and so like Brianna keeps trying to tell him that like Candyman isn't real, and she also has a brother named Troy who is semi-convinced that the myth is true. And of course, Anthony's mom, Anne Marie, since she went through the events of the first movie, she knows it's true, and so she's arguing with Brianna. But then like during this argument, like there's this, like the lights go out and then they come back on and you see Candyman in the room, like I guess settling that argument once and for all of whether or not he's real.
True.
What'd you think of Tony Todd's performance as Candyman? Like he's been away from this role for like a couple of decades, but how'd you think he like did the role in this one?
I think I believed it was still the same dude. Not that it was just obviously the same dude, but I definitely believe that this is a disgruntled, I guess, slasher that's been living this life for a while. And I definitely was convinced that he did a great job as the Candyman again.
He really honed in on what made the Candyman so menacing, and like he amped that up, and like there's this aspect to him where he seems tired, which is why I guess he wants to pass this on to Anthony. And I wasn't really clear about whether or not passing it on to Anthony would mean he'd be free. Like, do you think there was anything in the movie that might have implied that?
You know, I think the only thing that we can go for, because I read this in like reviews later, is the symbolism of birds everywhere and how there in some of Anthony's paintings there's birds flying off into like white light. So it might be symbolic that him passing it on is him being free, but I don't think there's a definitive answer in the movie whether he's gonna be freed or not.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a fan theory since like there's no confirmation within the film itself.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like the bees fill the room, and so like everyone is scrambling to get out, and like the Candyman grabs Troy, you know, Brianna's brother, and she really wants to save him, but he's yelling at her to go and save herself, and like
Leave me! Leave me! Yeah, yeah. It was a dramatic scene.
yeah, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Like it was super believable because you know there's some horror movies where like the actors will like unintentionally make it sound cheesy and it just doesn't work, but I was convinced that he was scared in that moment.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. When he says that and you're watching this in the theater and you feel those words like hit you deep.
Lots of people were like gasping during this part because they really liked Troy as a character. He provides some good comic relief, and so like it was really heartbreaking to see him go.
But as occurs in these horror films, you can't get attached to anybody at all.
Right. Not even the people you watch the movie with. No, just kidding.
I remember that my friend that I went to go see it with was dead by the end, and I just had to leave him there. So his body had to get cleaned up.
Yikes. Like you're obviously mean like figuratively dead.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Like just so like the FBI people listening to this don't like
I get raided in the middle of the next recording when I'm here for the 4th time. Yeah.
we break down your door. FBI, open up.
What is this about? You said your friend died. It wasn't me. Wait, what? Yeah,
Just left him in the theater.
I just left him in the theater, dude, so that the cleaning crew could clean him up.
Because, you know, if the cleaning crew doesn't clean up all the snacks from the theater floor, then the theater gets ants, and it becomes an ant theater.
Oh! Such a dweeb.
How has there not been a building at UCI called the Ant Theater? Like, that's just so easy.
You would think that's, like, top priority, but I guess it's not.
So disappointed in our school.
They gotta try better at these ant puns. They really do.
Yeah. I feel like I gloss over how I know the guests that I bring onto this podcast, but yeah, we went to the same school and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for all those listeners, Steven and I met in college.
Yeah, through improv-related stuff.
Through improvisation. What's that? Who knows?
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Nothing more, nothing less. Always yes, and everything that comes your way.
You know, this would be a perfect time for an ad break. But we don't do that here, so I guess we'll just keep going.
We're going. We're back. We're back. Round 2.
So yeah, they like try to drive to a safe place. So they end up in this diner, which I don't get why a diner would be safe, but that's where they go. Because
Steven, do you remember the name of the diner? Do you remember the name of the diner?
It was called Marble Dough, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. What do you think is the deal behind that name?
I think someone has an aunt named Marble, and she makes great dough. And so they called it Marble Dough. I think it's just a reference to something that we're not supposed to know what it is, but somebody behind the scenes knows what it is.
They do serve like these jelly donuts, which look really good.
They look so good. I wanted jelly donuts after. I want jelly donuts now.
I'm getting like donut cravings just thinking about it because like the way the jelly and the donut looked, it's just
Ooh,
Uh,
stab two. Ooh, ooh. It was essentially a donut commercial.
Joey Donuts, part of this complete breakfast.
And Candyman comes and slashes it open.
So, like, Anthony, his mom, and his girlfriend try to think of a plan, and they're like having this really existential conversation and wondering like whether it is even possible to escape the Candyman. And Brianna is trying to provide a glimmer of hope, but Anthony is like losing all hope. And then like his mom is like tearing up and saying how like she tried protecting him as a baby and she thought that that was it, but now like it's all come back to haunt the family again. And I was feeling very teary-eyed in that moment. Like that was top-notch acting. And it's like the same actress who played her in the first movie, so that was cool.
That was a throwback. I like that there was a lot of small roles that were handed to people from the original movie. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like the original Candyman was back. But we already talked about that.
Well, you know who we haven't talked about yet, because like she's coming up like right here.
Ooh, lay it on me.
So Anne-Marie mentions Helen, who saved Anthony as a baby in the first movie. And like she's thinking about like what's become of her and like whether she might help or whether it's like a bad idea depending on like what she's become. And so they go to the bathroom mirror and she says, Helen, 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 Helen. And then Helen appears, but like played by a different actress. But I feel like they did a good job making it look like her from like the end of the first movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they did an excellent job making her look like the original.
They tried talking to her and seeing if she might be on their side, and it's left very ambiguous, I guess, to keep up the tension for the theater goers.
Mm-hmm.
But she does want to confront the Candyman because, like, they haven't seen each other in like 28 years, apparently. And so they get this confrontation with each other and talk about the past and whatnot and catch each other up. But it's like, it's not like a casual catch up. It's more of like a really intense, like, trying to convey the dread of their existence, like what they've become. Mm-hmm. And Helen asks him if he's going to keep hunting down Anthony. And he's like, I have to pass on my legacy. And then Helen is like, then I'll just have to stop you again. And they like get in this fight. And it's like the theater was cheering during this moment. I don't know about your theater.
My theater was stiff as a rock. So I'm glad your theater was having fun.
Oh man, how many boring people were in your theater?
Everybody except for me, because obviously I'm not boring.
And of course, your friend was stiff because they were dead.
They were dead. They died. They already died.
But yeah, that was like really satisfying to see, and it didn't take up too much of the runtime. Like it just felt like the fight sequence was long enough, and you get like slashes here and there on both ends, like on both of their faces, and it's like bees everywhere.
The bees, they were all over the place.
I still haven't seen that Wicker Man remake. I've only seen like that clip.
One day, Steven. One day.
Yeah, I've seen the original, which is very haunting in its own right, and like the sequel of sorts, The Wicker Tree. That one was weird, but yeah, I know how much of a meme the Nicolas Cage one is.
God, Nicolas Cage is so funny. I love him. The funniest part about Nicolas Cage is that he tries to do things super serious, but it just comes out super hilarious.
Have you ever seen that movie Vampire's Kiss?
Is that the one where he says the alphabet?
I don't remember if he does, but he says stuff. Like, I guess he thinks he's becoming a vampire. I
Oh,
don't
it is.
remember.
It is. I just looked it up. It is.
Okay, so yeah, and he's saying stuff like, "I'm a vampire," and it's like super hard to take seriously. I don't know if it was intended to be comedy, but like on TV listings, it was listed as a comedy. So I don't know if that was like a retroactive thing, but it's like
Oh no.
super cheesy.
And in that movie, there's this moment where he was just supposed to be like, it's as easy like A, B, C, but instead Nicolas Cage went off script. He's like, it's as easy as like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. He's just like angrily going through the alphabet, just yelling at it at this person.
And he says the letter B, which is a call forward to like the bees thing that would happen to him, right?
Oh, dun dun dun! Of course, because every letter can be used as a foreshadow.
Nicolas Cage B movie crossover when.
Dude, I'm waiting.
So yeah. So yeah, there are bees everywhere, and like Anthony is trying to figure out what to do, and it seems like Helen gets the upper hand in the fight for a moment, but then the Candyman gets the upper hand, or I guess Hook in this instance, and Anthony decides to like enter the fray and sort of like, it's like super weird. He like becomes like, I guess he embraces like the Candyman image, and like he starts looking like the Candyman, like, you know, with the hook and the disfigured face, and like uses that to fight the Candyman, because it's like, I guess only a reflection can defeat a reflection type of thing. I don't know.
Oh, that was pretty cool, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to see, but also kind of weird, and I'm not sure if they explained it well enough, personally.
I don't think they did at all. It was one of those things I just had to accept.
Yeah, I kind of like what those, you know, just have to put that in the movie because of how awesome it looks. Like, try not to think about it in the moment.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're like fighting hook to hook and having this like philosophical discussion. And what'd you think of how this whole thing played out? Like, was it satisfying or intense at all?
I thought it was a mixture of intense and satisfying, because you go into the scene with like all this music and all this momentum based off the entire movie, and then the final moments of it are just satisfying because it's the accumulation of, I guess, a series, right? To me, it was just the accumulation of 2 films. So to you, it's the accumulation of 4 films. So I thought it was quite satisfying.
Right. So Candyman ends up like getting defeated, and like he explodes into like a million pieces. Yeah, he explodes into a million bees. and like the bees themselves like turn to dust or whatever. Like, it's pretty much like Infinity War all over again, but not as funny.
Oh no, not at all.
Man, wasn't it funny when Peter Parker said, "I don't feel so good," and then disappeared?
I remember my whole theater laughing their butts off. Everybody was like, "Wow, he's dead." Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember if I told this story, but when I used to work at Target, like, one of my coworkers was like upset at me for not being sad about that part, but I was like explaining how like we knew he'd be back, so it's like, you know, just laugh about it, you know?
You fool, Steven.
You gotta watch this YouTube video called Infinity War with, let me look it up, what's it called? And I'll link this in the show notes. Infinity War, but there's a laugh track.
No! No! That sounds so bad.
Yeah, I guess that's my guilty pleasure.
All right, I'm in.
Also, Shrek It Ralph is another guilty pleasure video that I like.
What's it called?
Shrek-It Ralph. It's like a 30-second video, and it's like a scene from Wreck-It Ralph where he's like falling and doing that whole speech, but it's like reenacted with Shrek and like some other characters, and it's like in a game mod engine. I'm not sure which one, but like, yeah, I'll send it to you after this, and like,
Okay, I'm down. Yeah, send it my way. I'd love to watch it.
yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Did you ever watch that Fresh Guacamole video?
Yes, that was super cool.
So good.
Yeah, that was super rad. I was very glad you said it. I think I'd already seen it before because it felt really familiar to me, but I liked it. I liked it.
Before I forget, listeners, before this, I like sent Andres a picture of the Candyman from Doctor Who, which looks super ridiculous.
Oh God, it was so gross. It was so gross.
I'll link an article to the wiki in the show notes.
God, it just looked like an abomination.
Gotta have that Candyman return to like modern Doctor Who.
I guess so. There should have been a reference to that in the movie. There should have been a reference.
That would have been so good, but also probably like really bad.
So bad.
Like
just
out of place. So yeah, the Candyman is gone. So Anthony, Brianna, and Anne-Marie see Helen, and she like smiles at them and then like disappears. And I kind of wonder like what Helen's fate is. Do you think she rests in peace after this, or do you think she'd like come back from the dead to like take care of something like this if it ever happens again?
I think she'll return in universe. I doubt this movie will have a sequel, but I'm pretty sure she'll return in universe in case something similar were to ever happen again.
Well, I mean, I kind of got the impression at the end that maybe there would be a sequel, because, you know, Anthony has that line where he's like, the end is merely the beginning. And I've like talked to people and they've said stuff like, oh, that just means like, you know, this was the end of their ordeal. And so with that over, this is the beginning of their new life. But I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe that could hint at like the Candyman legacy still continuing somehow. Because there's that shot of him looking in the mirror and then he smiles before it cuts to credits, you know?
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking that they'd make a sequel, but your interpretation cannot be that far off base, right? Like,
because it kind of feels like one of those movies where you would think the filmmakers would be like, oh, this is such a good passion project. It's so good. Like, this is one of those things where we should just not make more because we don't want to, like, I guess, lessen the impact of this. But then again, like, because this movie was so successful, it's like, well, like, could they resist? I don't know.
Who knows? I know who knows. You know, Steven. So tell us, Steven. What's the definitive answer?
Of who knows?
Yeah.
Doctor Who! Doctor Who!
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because like time travel and whatnot, Doctor Who wouldn't know the future.
I agree. There will be future instances of time travel in the Candyman universe. Confirmed. Candyman 2000.
Candyman in space.
Candyman touches the edge of the universe.
Like just go the route that Leprechaun, Hellraiser, and Friday the 13th went by like going into space.
God, those movies, those franchises really killed themselves, didn't they? They all killed themselves so bad.
I mean, you're not far off.
Oh, you're right.
I did like the Friday the 13th reboot with Derek Mears from like 2009. I thought that had brilliant moments, like going back to the franchise's roots, but there's been like nothing since it. So,
to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything since it either.
Right, and it's kind of a shame because, like, if they do make another Friday the 13th movie, it'd be the 13th one. So, like, I think they should call it the 13th Friday the 13th.
You're okay. Now you're terrible. I was excited, and then you just killed it. You just had to kill it.
I just had to crush your dreams.
You crushed all my Friday the 13th dreams in one single go.
I gave you hope with one hand, and then I crushed them with the other.
Stop it. Stop it. But you did. That's exactly what you did.
Crushed dreams, part of this complete breakfast. But anyway, were there any other scenes that you found to be like super scary that you thought were really impressive?
There was one scene where they were in a dark hallway inside of Anthony's house, and I think it was yes, if I remember correctly, because it's been a minute since we've seen the movie, of course. It has to deal with Anthony's psyche. So as he's walking down the hallway, the lights flicker on and off, and he's like seeing weird visions, and like he's kind of hallucinating. At the end of the hallway, there's like Candyman for a split second, and then like as he's walking down, you see like a single bee like crawling on the wall, which is like showing that he's slowly going. And then like the music starts to build up, build up, build up, and he opens the bathroom door, and there's Candyman, but it's not Candyman; it's Anthony's own reflection. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was very effective. I also thought this other scene that was really scary, and I mean, it sounds kind of dumb describing it, but I thought it was effective. Was when one of the side characters is like playing Xbox, and you get the 3 rings of death. You know, anyone who plays Xbox does not want the 3 rings of death, but that like tells the audience that like the Candyman is near, apparently, and like the lights go out, and then you hear like the screaming.
He has power to destroy your Xbox.
Take that, Microsoft.
They never planned for this.
They get advertised in this movie only to be taken down the peg.
Oh no! That's true though.
I feel like this was a pretty good movie to reboot, because like, you know, the original Candyman isn't like, it's known, but it doesn't have like that masterpiece status like other films have. And so I feel like it was a good idea to revive it and update it, and especially show how it's relevant today. And like, I think that's the best way to bring back a franchise, you know, if it's something that, you know, people are interested in, or people who watch it anyway are interested in, can find subtext in it and like just improve on it and make it better, you know?
Yeah, I agree, because I don't know if I mentioned this before the podcast or during, but this is one of those movies that not many people actually knew the original, because it's so old, and like it has not held up in society's mind like Friday the 13th and all these other great slashers. So I thought it was a really cool way to reintroduce Candyman back into society.
Yeah, I guess this was like a 90s nostalgia movie, but like they handled the nostalgia economically, like it wasn't too in your face, I think. Are there like any other movies from like the 90s or shows from the 90s that you think should be like revived or rebooted or revitalized or whatever?
Well, we had Malcolm in the Middle that we already talked about.
well, that premiered in 2000, though.
I thought that was a 90s show.
Well, season 1 might have been shot in 99, but it aired from 2000 to 2006.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Well, clearly we would need Hocus Pocus. That needs to return. We need a new Edward Scissorhands. Not really. I like the original one a lot. But if we're just calling for movies, we need a new Edward Scissorhands. We need a new Batman and Robin. We need a new one. We need a new Clueless.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I want more Batman and Robin. We need
a Clueless TV show actually got announced recently.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that sounds pretty cool. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I actually watched the movie for like the first time, as far as I'm aware, recently for like its 25th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was fine, I guess.
We need a new Twister.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
It's the movie about a tornado.
Oh, that.
Yeah. We need a new Twister. We need a new Batman Forever. We need a new one.
Yikes.
We need the Men in Black to be rebooted.
Like again.
again. Yep. We need a better RoboCop because the reboot of RoboCop was really bad.
Oh, I actually liked the reboot one. Like I thought it had very human moments.
It
Like
had very human moments, but compared to
Like-
the original, I just
like when
couldn't do it.
he's crying and because he sees what he's become. Like I thought that was powerful. But I
Disagree.
don't know.
Uh,
Reboot Waterworld.
we need a new Waterworld. We need a new Waterworld. We need a new Die Hard. We need a new Die Hard.
Oh, well, there's one that they're making, but it's got a really lame title. They're calling it John McClane, which
Oh, is
like-
it supposed to be Die Hard?
yeah, and like
Oh.
it's a super lame title. Like it's just like the whole John Wick and Jason Bourne title thing. Like they should have just called it
Yeah.
Old Habits Die Hard. Like it's right there, you know, just use that.
You're right. You're right. You want something. You want something. We need a new Goofy movie. That's
Oh
what we need.
yes, I'm so down for that.
I would love a new Goofy movie. I could go on, but I think we agreed new Goofy movie is probably the best choice.
And make it live action.
Oh, a live action Goofy movie.
Oh,
I mean,
that'd probably look terrible.
it would
to
look
be honest.
so garbage. I probably wouldn't even watch it if I'm being 100% honest.
I mean, I'd watch it. I'm just not sure like how much I would enjoy it.
Oh, we need a new The Mask. That's what we need. I love the original Mask. I love that movie.
It's been forever since I've seen that one.
Oh, dude, you should totally rewatch it. It's so fun. It does not hold up, but it's so fun.
When you think about it, we all wear a mask depending on whom we interact with.
Are you quoting the scene where he tells that to Jim Carrey?
Oh no, I just thought that was common knowledge.
Oh.
Does he actually say that?
Yeah, there's a scene where there's a guy who's like a specialist on masks. He's like, in actuality, we all wear a mask, and you have to find out which your mask is.
Well, my mask is whenever I smile, even though I don't feel like smiling. So there.
Steven. Steven. I'm never gonna smile at you again. It's canceled. Canceled.
Cancelled like Firefly.
How could you? How could you? Firefly never got a chance.
I'm actually glad that it got canceled because I imagine that like the later seasons would have been bad. So now people can just remember it as being
As
a
an
good
amazing
show.
first season.
When
Yeah.
really I just thought the show was okay, but like, yeah, I don't know. Come at me, Firefly fans, but yeah,
There's a lot of them. There are a lot of them.
but not enough to save the show.
Oh,
No, I'm
that's
kidding.
so
I'm
sad but
kidding.
true. That's so sad but true. Firefly fans, you guys suck. All right, yeah, I said it on Steven's podcast.
I should probably edit that part out.
Nope. Well,
But
keep
I'm
it
probably
in.
not.
I'm
going
gonna
to.
keep bringing it up. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. So kick it, edit it out.
All right. Anyway, I guess we should go. So I guess with that, we'll go into final thoughts and score out of 10. So what are your final thoughts and score out of 10 for this one?
8 out of 10 would recommend, but don't go in expecting like this great new horror. Clearly they're playing off tropes of the older films, and it's more of like for people who have a passion for these type of horrors. So if you're going into like for a scary horror, this is not it. But 8 out of 10, it wasn't bad.
Oh, wow. Our views are kind of different on this one.
What? All right, hit me.
Okay, so let's see. I guess I'll also rank the others, but yeah, so I'd say the first one for me anyway is like an 8.5. Second one is an 8. So I guess those ones get B's.
But
Third one gets a 4 if I'm being generous. Like I said, that one is garbage, but yeah, so this new one, I think this new one is the best one. I think they did a great job of bringing back the mythos, updating it, and you know, you could tell that the people working on it had a passion for it. Like Nia DaCosta is such a great director on this. and the actors were very convincing. They all did great performances.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the cinematography, the music, it was like really great. There are just some things where I feel like they could have explained certain things a bit more rather than just leave it to the imagination.
Like,
I guess
if Candyman is free now or not. Yeah.
right. I understand the trying to resist the temptation of doing too much tell, don't show, because like the human imagination can be powerful, making its own assumptions. But I would have liked a bit more explanation. So, but that being said, I would give this one a 9.2 out of 10.
Wow.
I think this is like the movie I've rated the highest on this podcast. But like as far as movies that came out this year, Birds of Prey is still my favorite. It's 9.5 for me.
Oh, Birds of Prey was pretty dope. I was a fan watching Birds of Prey. I saw it in 4D.
Oh, nice. What did the 4D add?
Absolutely nothing, but it was a pretty good movie. 4D made it actually suck, in all of it, in my opinion.
You weren't able to smell the grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh, I wish. No, but there was a scene where she sniffs cocaine, and they blasted us with water instead. And I was like, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Wait, like, did they actually spray water?
Yeah, it's like they spray water from time to time to recreate those movements, but I think it's just created out of an algorithm. I don't think like someone genuinely goes through and picks it. So I think the algorithm decided that this is the moment to spray water on us. So when she sniffs up the cocaine, we got splashed with water.
Wow, that's like some Shrek 4D shenanigans. Right
Yeah,
there.
man, it was pretty weird.
Yeah, I love Birds of Prey. The humor and like the storyline.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you done an episode of Birds of Prey?
No, because like we started this podcast like
Right
a little
after.
while after. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
that's true. Well, if you haven't seen Birds of Prey, get the chance to. It's the Harley Quinn movie, and it's pretty good.
yeah, I saw that one in the theater twice.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, like I saw it, I think I saw it opening day, and then I saw it again on Valentine's Day and got like one of those Birds of Prey themed alcoholic beverages from the theater. So
Oh, that's rad. That's
yeah,
rad.
that was fun. I just rewatched it again on HBO Max.
Oh, is
Just
it on HBO
landed
Max?
there.
Oh no, I might have to rewatch it as well.
Yeah, and the Harley Quinn animated series is really good too. It's hilarious.
I've been watching clips of it on YouTube, and it looks really good.
Going into Birds of Prey, I was super hyped because like I loved the animated series, but then I was like, wait, what if this isn't as funny? And it turns out it was like around the same range of funniness, like just
Oh, yeah.
told in a different way. So yeah,
It's a different medium, yeah.
I guess we should go into plugs. So thanks again for being on this episode, Andres.
Of
Where can
course.
people find you?
Ever since Steven and I started recording podcasts, I've also started doing a podcast with my good friend Kelsey Gitlin. We started a podcast called Just Two Lads. You can just find us on social media just by looking up Just Two Lads podcast. Just Two Lads podcast is actually what we're registered under. We just talk and we just get to know each other and we ask questions. So our first episode's out as of the recording of this. And yeah, if you want to follow me, I'm Pojeki, Pojeki, and you can find that on any social media. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. I'm glad that your experience on my podcast was able to inspire you to go and do that.
Did you listen to my top 10 ways to start a podcast?
Yeah, that was hilarious. You like called out solo podcasters.
And you know what? I had to backpedal really quick because my
Yeah.
good friend Annalise is a solo podcaster. And so I had to immediately backpedal the moment I said it. It's like, oh no, wait, I actually know solo podcasters. Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah, I feel like delayed replay is in that gray area between where it's like I do all this stuff, but I'm not technically like speaking alone on the podcast because
You always have a guest. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like there was that one segment on the Walking Dead episode where like
Oh, were you talking to yourself? Yeah.
yeah, and like that was just painful for me to listen to because I don't like listening to myself.
I hate listening to myself. I absolutely hate it, but I have to do it now.
That's kind of funny because, like, I feel like listening to you was fun, but
Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoy listening to me. At least someone does.
but anyway, while we're tooting our own horns, I have a fantasy horror comedy novel called Lemons Look Like Rain. More info on that at stevenschinder.com. You can also find it on Amazon. You can follow me at Steven Schinder on Twitter and Instagram, as Steven Schinder Storytelling on Facebook. I've also been working on memes and articles for Culture Slate, an entertainment news site. So you can find them at Culture Slate at various places. And if you would like to email the podcast, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com.
And make sure you tell Steven that you want me back as a guest forever and ever. And send him fan mail about me.
Yeah, I guess with that, I should check the email and see what we've got.
Is it fan mail about me? Because if it's not worth it.
There is nothing. So
No, my fan mail.
yeah, write to us about how much you love Undress and how much you hate what I said about Firefly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why I even mention the email anymore if no one's like writing in, but you know.
Hey, keep mentioning it. Someone eventually will.
Yeah, I've also been wondering if I should just stop saying what the next episode is about, because like sometimes I don't even know like right away.
Yeah, you should probably only say it if you have it confirmed.
Right. I guess I'll figure that out, and I might splice it in like I sometimes do, or maybe I won't. Maybe this is a wake-up call.
Oh, damn.
Escape Room 2. But anyway, I think that's everything. Thanks for listening. Without further delay, have a good day.
All right, got that edited. Kind of funny how a phone screen can be like a mirror. Candyman, Candyman Farewell to the Flesh, Candyman Day of the Dead, Candyman. Maybe it's a good thing there isn't a fifth one, but if there ever is, hopefully it's good. Who knows? Who knows? Ooh. And words can be so confusing. Can stop saying remake and reboot, reimagine, reinvent, revitalize, revival. So many words. What even is reality? Remake me.